And good afternoon, whether you're watching this live on Facebook on the side of this is the conversation project page, whether you're watching this live on the YouTube channel for this, or watching this in the future, or maybe even listening to this. I'm hoping to make the time to listen and make this podcast for this week. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's very, very odd edition of the weekly wrap up with Jay Cleveland Payne. I am Jay Cleveland Payne, and this is normally a much longer podcast where we go over a very longer period of time, a long list of things that have gone through in the past week, 8 days or so. Basically, the top 10 stories for the 8 days and the bottom 5 stories as well. As you know, it's been very hard to get these things done in a lot of places. Today, I'm recording from the undisclosed location, which is actually my church, as we're preparing for some massive stuff this weekend for Good Friday. And because if you're following along with my actual pursuits at home, everyone that lives in my house, and which seems a lot of people, are now working at home, and they've taken over my home workspace, my home studio space. So actually doing a reporting in decent conditions it's an issue in its own. So here we are. We also took the week off more or less for just sanity reasons of producing the 8 Things to Talk About newsletter. So Monday through Thursday this week, we did not have a newsletter. Yesterday, I produced a quick video on some things going on. And today, this video and audio coming from it is going to serve as the podcast for the 10 things for the week. Now, we're going to just kind of get through it. We're going to run through just the headlines, like a little commentary. And I'm also looking at ways to incorporate that sort of style into the upcoming podcast. They will be shorter. They will be more, they'll be less informative, if you will, and more of a commentary reaction for the week. But we just want to make sure we're doing something out there that is informational and conversational. So it's basically, we're rolling with the time. So if you like what we're doing, give me a like inside of the comments of the video, or give me some feedback via email, the conversation inbox at gmail.com, or just chat at me inside our social media. Of course, follow us on Facebook at This Is the Conversation. Follow us on Twitter at th_conversation. The more you engage with stories there that we post every 50 minutes or so, the higher the score for the stories go, and the chances they make it into this, because they're really high or really low, will come about. Not sure we're going to do this on video wise, because as you know, I'm not a fan of the video stuff, but we're going to do our best to at least let you know what's going on in the background for the conversation, because we do need you. And right now, even though all the stories are leaning towards coronavirus stuff, there are some nuances in the stories and other things that are being missed that you might want to know about. So I don't have slides. I don't have pretty things to show you, but I'm just going to go through this just like normal, top to bottom, or technically bottom to top, from 10 to 1, the top 10 stories that we had this week, all the way doing to the bottom story, the almost relevant story of the week, which is at 197 this week. So 197 distinct different stories posted. Now, if this was a normal podcast, I'd open with the intro, and that would be the cutoff story, the story at number 11, where the story's chopped off and go from there. This week's cutoff headline reads like this: Cyclone Harold rapidly intensifies as it is headed for Vanuatu. So throughout the talk about, and we usually don't give much talk of this, but this is a story we cut things off. Throughout all the talk we had about coronavirus and it, of course, taking over the world and getting in the way, we are forgetting about things like natural disasters and storms and things going on. Arkansas had an earthquake this week. It wasn't a very strong earthquake. They don't have a very strong fault, but they have earthquakes fairly frequently these days. And no one talked about it because we're talking about coronavirus outbreaks. So that's something to think about, but not much to think about here, except if you go to our website, thisistheconversation.com, and click on this week's podcast link. We'll have a listing of all the stories we talk about here, even more on that one, so you can read deeper into it. So now let's get into this the way it normally goes. Counting them down from 10 to 1. A headline in the number 10 spot this week. Bear with me. I've got to do a couple of things to make it easier to read. Live production. Gotta love it. So the top 10 story this week reads the headline of this: Rising LA rapper Mac P. Dog shot dead at 24. Shoreline Mafia members say. We got that story from MSM. One of the stories they listed, they aggregated. We posted on Tuesday, the 7th of April. This gets a bump in response, which means more people responded to this story than the last story of 5.61%. Because I'm not a big music guy these days and definitely not into hip hop of today, I have no idea who Mac P Dog is, but you guys did, and it was a pretty big story, pretty big deal, and it made it into the top 10 this week. With all the things going on, it's hard to really quantify who he is, what he was, what he did, especially when I don't really know who he is, what he was doing, and what was going on there. But this was a very big story. If we had more time to do this thing, I'd give you more reading to see how it goes. Number 9 story this week: exes Bruce Willis and Demi Moore self-isolate together in matching striped green pajamas. Tuesday, the 7th is the day we posted that one. Bumper response of 4.42%. For that story, for some odd reason, Bruce Willis is with Demi Moore and the girls for their self-isolation, but not with his current wife. And it's weird, but it is what it is. If you follow their story from their divorce, you know that they have a very amicable relationship and were very good friends after the fact, making sure their daughters were raised and everything like that. But right now, all their daughters, who are all adults, are essentially quarantining at Demi's house, with some hangers-on being sons-in-laws and whatnot. And that's where Bruce Willis is. And they took some group pictures in matching Christmas pajamas, because that's what they do. Number 8 story this week: coronavirus. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo doubles maximum fine for breaking social distancing rules to $1,000 as state cases rise. Monday, the 6th of April, the day we posted that one. Bumper response of 2.54%. Now, this is a story with a bit more nuance. If you got a chance to go deeper into it, you would see what's going on. Right now, as we are waiting for essentially the crest of the deaths and cases of coronavirus, the numbers in New York were doubling at a extreme rate. It went from about every 3 days, every 2 days for a while, and now we're seeing what looks like the peak of that coming. And we believe for the nation, it will be this Sunday. We'll see how the numbers run out. But in order to keep people from doing the things that people are doing, New York is going to some extreme measures on that one. They double the fine for people being out there not social distancing. There's a story that was later in the week where they shut down basically all the public parks, all the public basketball courts, and started taking down goals. About half of the goals across New York are taken down off basketball courts to keep people from playing basketball, because that's not social distancing. New York getting really serious because they right now have the most number of cases than any nation in the world, minus China. So they have more cases in New York than they have in Italy and the other places, hotspots over in Europe. Let's move on to the story at number 7. Shares of China's Luckin Coffee plummet 80% after investigation finds COO fabricated sales. That story posted on Friday, the 3rd of April. So it took a long time to get to this one, but it stuck around. Bumper response of 2.48% from that story. What does that mean? Pretty much as it is. They got caught cooking the books, and because of that, the big hot stock that was Luckin Coffee dropped dramatically. Check out more on that story by going to our website this week. Thisistheconversation.com. Sometime in the day, today or tomorrow, you will see the listing. Hopefully, you'll hear some sort of recording for this, and you'll have a chance to read deeper into the story if this is something that interests you. It interested a lot of people because it did make the 7th story this week. At number 6, video allegedly showing Flash actor Ezra Miller choking a woman emerges. This one posted Tuesday, the 7th of April. Bumper response of 7.26% from the previous story at number 7. And this one has grown a lot of legs since Tuesday. There have been a lot of updates to this story. We haven't posted a lot of them in the conversation because pretty much this one did what it needed to do. But it shows that the Flash star from the movie, Ezra Miller, or let's say from the DC movie, DC movie that was the Super Friends, for lack of better terms, Justice League, is having some issues with a video emerging of him choking a woman, which is a bad thing. And so now people are pretty much upset and want him gone. That's what we do these days. We see people do bad things, we want them gone. I've not seen very much of the other side of the story. I'm sure sometime there will be some sort of, if not mea culpa, explanation. At the 5 spot this week, 6ix9ine, of course, got released from prison last week. He returned to Instagram after prison release, trolls LA mayor offering reward for snitches. That's what you do. Monday, the 6th of April, the day we posted that one. And y'all love y'all some 6ix9ine. Trust me. 3.01% bump in response from the number 6 story. Tekashi 6ix9ine got out of jail last week. He got back on Instagram pretty quickly, and he started out there just beefing with anybody, including the mayor of LA, because that's what you do. Now, there's deeper stories and more stories coming out, but basically asking why people think that he's a snitch. Probably because he was an informant. That's kind of why that goes. But y'all folks love y'all some 6ix9ine. So 6ix9ine made it this week again in the number 5 spot. At number 4, UFC boss Dana White named in sex tape extortion lawsuit. Check out the link on the website to get more deeper details on this one, because you're going to need to. This one gets really deep, really weird, really fast. Monday the 6th, we also posted that one as well. That got a bump response from the number 5 story of 4.38%. At number 3, another 6.6 million Americans filed for unemployment benefits last week. We posted this one yesterday as we were taping this live. That's Thursday the 9th. A bump response of 6.99% from the number 4 story. This is a story that gets older and older as it goes on, but gets more deeper and depressing. Of course, last week, about 7 million people filed for unemployment. Week before, about 3 million people filed for unemployment. This makes it about 16 million people filing for unemployment in the last 3 weeks alone. This is all due to the shutdowns that we have here nationwide with the coronavirus, and of course, international shutdowns as they all ripple together. Read deeper into the numbers of that by going to our website and clicking the link for this story at thisistheconversation.com for this week's podcast. Podcast week ending 4/10/2020 or April the 10th, 2020, if you want to go that way. The number 2 story this week is the number 1 story Facebook responded this week. So as you know, if you don't know, what we do for these stories is we take the responses from Facebook and Twitter and we put them into an algorithm and weigh them together and come up with a total score. But we still tell you how they responded based on the actual platform people got into. This one was a number 1 story that had the Facebook response this week. And also going deeper into this is what we call the results of a super story. This is actually headlines, 3 headlines combined, where we added the numbers from that to see where it would go. And oddly enough, the one headline that made it into number 4 spots, the other 2 within the top 20, bumped this from 4 to 2 total. So it didn't overtake everything, but it was a pretty big deal. The headline we went with was the latter headline, and that is UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson in intensive care after coronavirus conditions worsened. Monday, the 6th is the date we posted this one in particular. A bumper response from the number 3 story, and part of it is because it's a super story combination of 57.52%. That's how much more it gained in its popularity, in its responsiveness. And this is pretty self-explanatory. Boris Johnson later last week told us that he came down positive for the coronavirus, and within a couple of days, he had to be hospitalized. Now, his level of hospitalization went up and down. In a few days, he went into intensive care. A few days after that, or a day after that, he started getting oxygen treatments, and he also deputized some other ministers to handle some day-to-day stuff, although he's still in charge. He never went on a ventilator. He never went to super serious type of functions. And at this point, although it's not showing in the top 10 here, Boris Johnson is still in the hospital, not in intensive care, and no longer taking oxygen treatments. So we are, of course, sending lots of thoughts and prayers to the Prime Minister of the UK. We send thoughts and prayers to all world leaders, especially in times like this. But the top story, not quite topped, is this one about the Boris Johnson and his time in intensive care over the past week. Now, the number 1 story, we always do this with a little bit of fanfare and a little bit of panache, so bear with me. It is obviously the number 1 story this week, as per you. You voted this one number 1. It's also the number 1 Twitter story this week, and even though I screwed up in the posting, you guys found it, you guys reacted to it, you guys talked about it a whole lot. It gets a bumper response from the number 2 story on Boris Johnson of 43.15%. Bumper response from the number 10 story. That is the rapper Mac P Dog, him being shot this week, of 205%. And a bumper response from the almost irrelevant story this week. We'll let you know the headline in a moment, but is more responsive than the bottom story this week by 2,364%. Your headline: Parody Sports Center account falsely tweets Colin Kaepernick signed. Here's the deal. This came out yesterday. This was big because two things. One, people clicked on the first thing. Two, people reacted to the second thing. Now, what happened? Someone posted a post that even had Adam Schefter's actual Twitter sign there that Colin Kaepernick had signed with the Jets. Okay, that would have been big news. The problem was it came from a Sports Center Twitter account that didn't even have Sports Center in the name. It was a parody site that changed its name to Sports Center, posted the link, and because it looked like really big news and people were jumping on it, many major news outlets jumped to the news. Many major stories clicked on the link to say what happened. In fact, when I originally saw the posting, I saw a headline from a news channel that said Colin Kaepernick signed with the Jets. I clicked on the link to go find it. It was gone. I refreshed and searched for Colin Kaepernick, only to find that it was a parody account. And in fact, the same news station that I went to looking for the actual article had to erase the link. I posted a new article link about it being a parody account and the fact that they got punked. And a lot of people got punked. A lot of people got punked on this one. This is normally where I give a little bit of commentary, but we're rushing this, so it'll be a lot of short commentary. We don't know how the NFL season will start next week. We do know Colin Kaepernick has the tools and the skills and the ability to play quarterback. Whether he's good or not is an actual discussion you can have back and forth if he's good enough to play for someone. We know he has the skills, and we know there's some slots that need to be taken, and you might as well sign him. Yes, there will be some backlash, and yes, to be honest, him going back to the NFL does actually sort of take back some of his clout as his new social icon, the person out there fighting for justice and things like that. That actually does take away a little bit. But that's between Colin Kaepernick and the people who want to throw him money to play football. If they figure it out, they figured it out. Otherwise, Kaepernick, can keep doing what you're doing because you are a voice to the voiceless right now. You seem to be doing pretty good on your own, even if you're not doing the thing that you loved. Sometimes our paths get swapped. So this is a time where we will usually do some sort of promo or some sort of ad. I'm going to do a quick promo for myself again. Hi, I'm Jay Cleveland Payne, and I produce this thing you're watching right here. And I'm glad that anybody who popped in live, because I can't really see any responses right now. Because I got two cameras going on. I don't have two screens. But thank you so much for joining us over here. If you think this is really good, I need some help. If you follow my other stuff, you hear me talk about what's going on right now. Me and my own depression, other people working on stuff, trying to share the works of other people going back and forth. So the Conversation Project needs help because it is powered by you, and you can do it in many ways. If you have a little extra change, I would love for you to help me in a monetary way. Go to patreon.com/thisistheconversation. Also, you can go to buymeacoffee.com or ko-fi.com/jclevelandpayne. And there are various ways to give there as well. It's something I learned from the short period of time where I was selling insurance is you don't let money walk out the door. If you want to throw me some bones, you let me know. I've got a way to get it. You want to Venmo me, you want to Cash App me, you want to use Zelle with your bank account, we'll figure it out. The whole thing is these things take time, effort, and resources. If you've been watching the news, the real news these days, you see all these people sitting at home in their libraries, in their living rooms, doing some stuff and some behind the scenes of what it takes to make this thing work. All my radio friends who are still broadcasting here in Little Rock, they're basically all broadcasting from closets at their house. So they're all technically podcasters for all practical purposes now. And it's just amazing what it takes to make this thing happen, make these things work. And they have budgets, they have performance going on, they have people who are doing things behind the scenes. I'm more or less a one-man band. I do have people who give me support, who give me help and guidance and give me suggestions, but I don't have a magical team of folks doing a bunch of stuff. So if this project is something that you like, and I only really push for this project here, you can go that way. If you don't want to do anything monetarily, or if you just don't have the funds, trust me, I understand. The best thing you can do is share the podcast, share the website, share the love. Follow on Facebook or Twitter, th_conversation on Facebook. I'm on Twitter, I'm sorry. And this is the conversation on Facebook. And just every so often interact. Because if I have lots of numbers interacting to stories, interacting what's going on, the Facebooks and the Twitters will send out to other folks, and then I can bug them for money. See how that works? You bring more people into the group, it's like a party. You bring folks into your Amway party, and you know, we sell more of those folks, you get upsell. It's like that. So if this thing is something that you think is worthy of some sort of response, follow me on Patreon. This is a conversation. For this, buy me a coffee or coffee at J. Clifton Payne. Follow us on Facebook or Twitter, or just shoot me an email. The conversation inbox at gmail.com. Just fire off an email and say, hey man, I like this, I don't like this, whatever. Just do that. That'd be cool. Thank you so much. So I did take a chance to peek back at the other screen. I seen that the famous, infamous Anon Amos popped in. Thank you so much for joining in. And my boy Big O, who every time he comes up, I basically shout him out. So check out In the Black Podcast, a podcast which much more range than mine does, where they talk about all sorts of things, where three guys who happen to be black, not so much a black podcast, but done by three guys who happen to be black, talking about the issues that are all dealing with us today. And yes, I work. This is the booth where we do sound stuff, and I'm just parked behind our craft services. Basically, one thing that I make sure that people are taken care of is there are snacks and there's things back there, because if I provide you snacks, you don't have a reason to wander off set and not be in place. There you go. Learn something there. Very quickly, we're going to go into the bottom five, and why we do the bottom five is for some sort of nuance to show what's going on, what's happening. I've done this in various different ways in the past, but right now it's just literally just the bottom five stories that shows you the difference from the top and the bottom. And these stories are usually stories posted late on Thursday or very early on Friday, just because I don't have time to make time. This week, there happened to be two stories, or three stories actually, that were posted early in the week, Saturday and Sunday, that just didn't make any traction, including the almost irrelevant one, which is weird. Sometimes it happens that way. At number 193, the headline is Amazon Prime Day likely delayed due to COVID-19. That's pretty obvious. We posted that on Sunday, the 5th of April. Posted on Saturday, the 4th of April. Coronavirus deaths in Spain down for a second day in a row. We got that from Sky News, by the way. At 195, ISIS leader in Afghanistan arrested. So that should have been bigger, but we only posted it around midnight last night. So that one didn't get a lot of chance to grow on us. Chinese Professional Baseball League team will have robot mannequins fill in as fans at games. That's 196. We posted that yesterday fairly late-ish, around 7 o'clock or so my time. But the weird thing is, sometimes these stories take a while to gather, and sometimes I'll post something early before people really respond to it. Sometimes I'll post something after people have jumped on it. This is a story that I saw early in the week, if not late last week, about many baseball teams in China not letting coronavirus stop their seasons. They're just going to put robots in the stands, which sounded weird. And after this one popped up, which I actually saw pictures of the robots dressed up in the stands, it was time to post it. Didn't get much response. It's because it was a Thursday story. It'll get chopped off, so it won't have a chance to go any further. But this is one that, if it turns into a bigger story, we'll come back to. I give that way more talking time than I usually do. And finally, the almost relevant story of the week. Usually we take the time to read the story. I'm not pulling up the links to read the full story today, but you get the gist of it. The headline is Politician Defends Deliberate COVID-19 Infection. And this is one that we posted last weekend, Saturday the 4th. It gets a bump of desponse, which isn't a word, of 2,364% from the number one story. And it's basically is sort of aping off what Great Britain tried to do, what Boris Johnson tried to do, but when they didn't lock things down to get ready for coronavirus stuff, they basically left the nation open, and people got sick real quick, so they changed their minds. This is a politician that said, you know what, we should have done that. We should have let people get free and let people get infected and get the antibodies and go like that. And this is a bunch of politicians from here in the States that thought that was a good idea. And I'm not sure why. You can read more about that story, more about what was going on by going to our website, thisistheconversation.com. Click on the link for this week's podcast. It is for the 4th month, the 10th day, 2020th year, April 10th, 2020. I'll have this posted up probably early tomorrow because I'm about to, like I say, we're preparing for some taping stuff here. That's basically how the podcast goes. Right now, I'd usually do a podcast plug, and since I'm not prepared, I'll plug In the Black Podcast again. Thank you so much, Big O, and you guys are doing that one. Just search for In the Black Podcast online. They are anywhere your pods are cast, and they are good friends of this show and just good guys in general. From there, I come back and I will give you some of the errors and omissions from last week, things we screwed up, and just some of the facts going on. Of course, the number 2 story this week was a super story. We combined the stats from 3 stories and postings. It made the story that was in the number 4 spot move to the number 2 spot. Nothing all that spectacular, basically, especially with the large jump there was from 1 to everything else. And the numbers for this week, the top 10 stories took up about 17% of your time. They were engaged with everyone. About 17% of all the engagement were in the top 10 stories. The bottom 10, about 0.89, not even a percent. As normal, as things go along here, the Twitter love is higher than the Facebook love. Twitter took up 92% of the engagement, mostly because of the fast pace of it. Facebook love, 7.84. We'd love more people following us on Facebook and more people engaging on the Facebook stories and conversating, which may or may not be a word, inside the post. So when you guys talk inside the post on Facebook, I think it's awesome. Those are the stats. Those are your numbers. That is the show. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Follow me on Patreon at This Is Conversation. Follow me at Money Places. Pretty much anywhere you can send me money, I'm at J. Cleveland Payne. Email us at theconversationinbox@gmail.com. Find out more about what other things I have going on at jclevelandpayne.net. Thank you guys for watching this in real time in the future. I know it's all discombobulated. I know it's all thrown together. We'll probably do something more along these lines where there's less of a reading. Unfortunately, when you're working from a script, it actually takes more time because you have to write the script instead of just rip and read. It is what it is. Let me know if you enjoyed the content. Let me know if you enjoyed the newsletter. Let me know if you enjoyed the way this thing works or like the old stuff. And let me know how you're doing out there. COVID-19 ain't no joke. Need somebody to talk to. Email, hit me up. We'll chat. I got to get back to production of the real stuff. And hopefully you're going to have a great Good Friday. It's Easter week. He is risen. He is risen indeed. Thank you guys so much. And we'll talk to you in some fashion. Man, these are weird times going forward.